Alright, let's do something fun today. So today we're going to go through various financial related subreddits, going through some of the posts there, and I'm going to share some of my advice and respond to some of the comments. Now I realize that there's a very low chance that any of you watching are the original poster, or the OP as they call it, but I think that a lot of this stuff is relevant to a lot of people and not just the OP. So just put yourself in the shoes of the OP and let me know down in the comments what you would say to the OP, or like if I can find the post again, I'll even link the post so that you can go ahead and comment on those posts as well. So yeah, just if you have been through a similar situation or if you have anything to share, be sure to let me know down in the comments. And without further ado, let's jump in. Okay, so these ones are going to be from r/poor. So this is a subreddit for people who consider themselves poor and are looking for advice on how to improve their financial situation. So let's see what some people had to say. So this one is from a user called the Young Buddha, who says, impulse buying myself into debt. So he says, hey, I live in Raleigh, North Carolina, kind of up and coming area, but still pretty affordable. Living with a girlfriend who I love and probably will marry. Almost $3,000 in credit card debt, and just made an impulse that almost maxed out one of the 2 credit cards that I have. No criminal history, and I love smoking MJ, but poor sucks, and it doesn't at the same time. I don't believe that money can buy happiness, but it sure can pay for a lot of sadness and financial crap that I'm in. Anyways, how do I not be poor? I have a job. I'm on short-term disability leave for depression, and my GF is holding down her job because she's a strong woman. Probably no more than $100 to my name right now, and probably maybe $25 in BTC and $50 in Tesla stock. But I guess once the short-term disability hits, I'll at least have some of my income coming back. But I would still be considered in most eyes poor. So who knows how to not be poor? I need answers. Alright, so first thing I want to say is that I'm glad that OP at least recognizes that he has a problem here, and good for him for making this post, because, admitting that you're an impulse buyer and admitting that that's contributing to your financial problems, that's a great first step. I know that sounds really obvious, but to a lot of people who have similar problems, who are in similar situations, impulse buying things and denying that is an issue, that's like a pretty common thing, right? So admitting to having a problem is a non-trivial thing. So good on him for admitting that. Secondly, the point about how money can't buy happiness, I've talked about this in the past actually. So this is only technically true. So money can't buy happiness, but it can buy you the ability to not have to worry about money. This is a cause of unhappiness, right? To worry about money. So having money doesn't make you happy, but it just eliminates a great source of unhappiness in this particular area of life. So an analogy that I could give is like having a winter coat in a blizzard. So it doesn't make you warm, it keeps you warm, right? And also having a winter coat in a snowstorm, it might not solve all your problems, right? You might be lost, you might be hungry, you might have other problems other than being cold, but it sure as hell helps with the situation of being cold, right? So that's what money is. To expand on that, he mentioned that he also wants to get married soon, so keep that in mind, because a lot of divorces happen because of financial issues, right? I think I read somewhere that over 50% of divorces are caused by financial problems. Don't quote me on that, I don't have statistics to back that up, but you guys can look up the statistics. It's a lot. And also, that is not to say that rich people don't get divorced, because they do, but if they do, is likely not because of money, because they're already well off financially, right? So the only thing I can address to the actual problem is to focus on repaying the actual credit card debt. So OP mentioned that he has some investments, and typically I'm all for investing, right? You guys know, because this whole channel is based on investing, right? So you guys know I'm all for investing. But if you have debts that are charging you a high interest rate, like a credit card, for example, it really doesn't make sense for you to be investing. I don't know how it is in North Carolina, but here in Ontario, Canada, a credit card debt starts at 20%. So it can go up even higher. I think it can go up to like 35 or 40%, something like that. So if you're paying 20% annually on your credit card, you really got to think of what kind of investments that you can make that will earn you 20% annually or above. And the answer is there's probably not a lot of investment choices, right? So you should be paying down your debt instead of investing, because you're likely actually losing money by investing because you're earning less than 20% per year. And I would say that, like, again, 99% of investments don't generate over 20% per year in terms of rate of return. So if you are, then you're likely being lied to and you're part of like a Ponzi scheme or something, or it's very risky such that it can easily go down by 20%. Or more, right? And I'm talking about 20% in like a long term, right? So of course, if you invest in the stock market last year till now, you probably made more than 20%. But you're probably not going to get 20% or above in stock market returns every single year, right? Because obviously we had a special situation with the pandemic and the recovery, so you're not going to be able to get that kind of return every single year. So I'm talking about 20% or more consistently per year, and that's not really feasible. Even in the crypto space, you hear a lot of people talk about, including myself, talk about crypto these days, right? So with some crappy altcoins, some of them are just straight up scams, by the way. So some of them like Moon, right? Some of them go up like 10,000%, but your chances of finding those are pretty astronomical, right? So some of them go up like obviously more than 20%, but a lot of them are just straight up scams. And if you don't know what you're doing, if you're not an expert, you can easily get scammed. So that's a huge risk right there. And even with legitimate cryptos like Bitcoin and ETH, they're still very volatile, and they could easily go down by 20% as well, right? I wouldn't recommend you put your grocery money into like Bitcoin or Ethereum. I know that, I believe in Bitcoin and Ethereum as much as the next person, right? You guys know. But I wouldn't recommend you put your like eating and like rent money in there, because you should only invest what you're willing to lose, right? And if you have no money, then you can't afford to lose anything. So you should be focusing on paying down your debt. And lastly, to answer OP's question about how to not be poor, I think a lot of it is just mindset too, right? So I know a lot of people might be angry at hearing that. It's like, what are you talking about, Andy? Like,
I have an income problem. I don't have a mindset problem. I have an income problem. My problem is that I don't make enough money.
Well, ask yourself if that's really true, okay? So is it really an income problem, or is it a spending problem? I think most people who I talk to who claim to have an income problem actually has a spending problem. If God dropped out of the sky and gave you $1 million right now, would that solve all your problems forever? Like, would you never be poor again, right? Or would you impulse spend it all and end up being poor again? Do you have a plan to actually allocate that $1 million in such a way such that you have a diversified portfolio that has good risk adjustments and can generate a steady cash flow to fund your lifestyle? And can you also keep your lifestyle below your steady cash flow that you're generating such that you don't run out of money, right? So if the answer is no to any of those questions, then you don't have an income problem. You probably have a spending problem, right? Or you just have a knowledge gap in terms of finance. But on the bright side, spending problems and knowledge gap problems are a lot easier to fix than income problems. So you can't snap your fingers to increase your income immediately, but I think most people can snap their fingers and commit to spending a little bit less each month, or learning a little bit more about finance and how to invest. I think that's a lot easier than suddenly increasing your income. Okay, that's it for that one. So, by the way, that's a really good post by the OP, by the way. So I'll try to find the link to that, and I'll try to link it down below if I can find that post. Anyways, let's move on. So the next one is also from r/poor, and it's by the user named help la la la. Okay, so this one says, imagine having extra money, LMAO. LOL, I think many around here know the anger when you hear someone say something like, yeah, I bought another iPhone, iPad, etc. And you're like, your stuff was working fine. Why did you get something new? And they're like, because I felt like it. And the anger and jealousy I feel once hearing that makes me puke. Or middle-class people calling themselves poor. Dude, you own your house that you live in, you have 2 iPads, a gaming computer, and you go on vacation twice a year. F off. I'm wondering if I'm the shittiest person for thinking that, since you can never know. But meanwhile, I share a room with my siblings till I became 10 and buy everything secondhand because I don't get any birthday, holiday presents. To this day, I have never went on school trips paid by my parents. The humiliation of going to your teacher and explaining everything and then being dependent on the funding of your school or the state and everyone you know that you couldn't pay for it yourself. Like, God, I'm just mad at the world. Or the humiliation of people asking, what do your parents do? And thinking about lying, but you don't. So you force yourself saying cleaning lady and jobless, putting them and just being awkward around it like, oh, okay, and in my next life, I want to be a rich white dude. Okay, so you guys are going to be tired of hearing about this, but I'm going to say it again, right? So a lot of this, it comes down to mindset. It's all about the mindset, guys. And I want to differentiate between being poor and having a poor person's mindset, because those are two completely and different, separate things. So you can be poor and still have a rich person's mindset. What do I mean by that? Well, you know, a poor person's mindset is all about scarcity. So if someone buys a new phone or a new house or a new car or whatever, you think, oh crap, that's one less thing for me because resources are scarce. So we gotta like get more. And if somebody else has more than me, then that means that they took away what I could have potentially had. And this applies obviously to money or all material things. So you're like, oh, someone makes more money than me, then that's less money for me. Well, you don't have to think of it that way, right? It's not a zero-sum game. So just because somebody has more resources than you, whether it be money or cars or houses or iPads or whatever, that doesn't mean that you have less or you necessarily would have less. Like, that's a really unhealthy mindset and it's not true, okay? So think about it this way. If your friend gets a new iPhone, well then doesn't that mean that they could potentially sell you their old iPhone for cheap if there's nothing wrong with their old iPhone? Let's say your friend is like quote unquote rich, right? And they get a new iPhone and then their old iPhone still works. Well, then you could be like, hey, can you sell me your old iPhone? Because that one is pretty good still and it works perfectly well, right? So if your friend gets a high paying job and you didn't, well, then you should still be happy for them because maybe they can refer you to their new company and then you can get a similar position with a high pay as well. So you got to get rid of this scarcity mindset, right? Things are abundant. So do you know how many iPhones they make every single day? They make a lot, okay? And I know that it sucks that some people are just born into a wealthier family or some people are born more good looking than others, right? That's just life. Life is not fair, right? The world is not fair and the world doesn't owe you anything. So if you're mad at the world for being unfair or for, you know, just being a shitty place in general, well, then that's just a bottomless pit and you're not going to find a bottom, right? Like, it's just a rabbit hole that goes down forever. So that's really like a path that you do not want to go down. And the last statement about being a rich white dude, and I know he's like semi-kidding here, but I think this statement is problematic too. I think a lot of people think you have to be like the Chad, right? So you ever seen those Chad memes? So a lot of people think that you have to be Leonardo DiCaprio and Wolf of Wall Street on a yacht with like super hot models everywhere, right? And that's what success is. Well, in this case, in case you haven't noticed, most people in the world are not rich white dudes, right? So they're actually the minority around here. Most people in the world, like, you know, the most common person around the world is like an Asian guy, like me, for example, right? Because like Asian guys make up what, like 1/8 of the world's like population or something, or more than that. But I think that OP is being slightly racist towards himself. Like, why did you mention specifically a rich white dude? Why didn't you just say a rich Asian dude or a rich black dude or a rich Latino dude, right? So, like, if being rich is all that matters, right? Like, why do you have to bring race into it? I think that, to me, OP seems like he's not white already. Like, he's not white himself. Otherwise, he wouldn't be saying that. So he thinks that somehow that being white is quote-unquote better. So this is what I mean when I say that OP is being slightly racist towards himself. Like, why you gotta do that, man? Why you gotta be racist towards yourself? And to everyone who's watching now, if there's one thing you can take away from this video is that don't be racist towards yourself. Like, you can forget everything else I said in this video. That's the moral of the story. Don't be racist towards yourself, and don't be racist towards anybody, as a matter of fact, okay? So, yeah, anyways, just to reiterate what I was saying, you can be poor physically, but not poor mentally. So if you want to fix your situation, you just got to improve your mindset. So that's the first thing that you got to work on. Anyways, I'll leave the video here for today. Be sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and consider subscribing if you like the series. Be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, links down below in the description as always. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye!